Hi, I'm Jeff Vogel for Buzz TV Network News Analysis, carried on Treasure Coast affiliate channel 1098 Buzz TV, on Comcast Xfinity cable in Indian River County, and seen on the Treasure Coast in 60,000 homes and businesses north from Mico, south to Fort Pierce. This week's topics for discussion on our news analysis include coronavirus on the Treasure Coast, Megyn Kelly and Gone with the Wind, Statues of Limitations and Tucker Carlson, and Indian River County Good News Department. We'll close out with that. On the Treasure Coast this past week in Indian River County, speaking of the Treasure Coast and the coronavirus that continues to spread here, this past Friday, the Indian River County Emergency Management Crew held their weekly coronavirus update for the county, and that was officiated by Brian Sullivan, the Indian River County Legislative Affairs and Communications Manager. He introduced County Administrator Jason Brown. Jason brought with him again this week to the coronavirus update his 6-foot pole. And he's using this to demonstrate that the 6 feet social distancing that we all should be following is a greater distance than most of us really visualize in our minds. And 6 feet is actually quite a good distance. It's the length of 2 yardsticks, and most of us are not maintaining that social distancing. And this in particular, when you're out shopping, it's almost impossible not to have to pass by people. It's most grocery stores now, they're doing one lane in one direction, but still if someone stops in the middle, it's difficult to get around. So that social distancing is very important, and Jason Brown wanted to reiterate how important that is. He also wore a mask this week for the first time. These weekly coronavirus updates for Indian River County have been going on now for the past 2 to 3 months on a nonstop basis. The county chose not to have one last week, and there was no explanation for why they did not choose to have one. But the purpose of the press conferences each Friday is one, to stream that press conference live on the county's channels, but also to allow for the press to attend. There are really only about 3 or 4 of us that attend each week from the media in Indian River County, and so it's important, in order to reach those 3 or 4 media outlets that are predominant, such as Buzz TV Network in Indian River County, that the county hold those press conferences each Friday. Last week they did not give an explanation as to why. It's understandable that from an administrative perspective that everyone may be getting kind of tired of doing it each week and saying the same thing over and over again. Stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, wear a mask. They've been saying it week after week, and so perhaps last week they just got themselves just a little bit set in their minds, since everything seems to be opening now. The public perception is that the coronavirus is no longer a threat. That actually is completely untrue and contrary to science. So we'll talk more about that. This was the first week that Jason Brown, Indian River County Administrator, wore a mask. In past weeks, we have had other members presenting. Miranda Hawker, for example, generally arrives and wears a mask except when actually giving her presentation in order to be understood better. However, there was no problem understanding the two speakers on Friday with their masks on, and the point they were trying to make was that the perception is very important. We don't want to let our guards down, and we don't want to think because everything is open and you can do everything that you should do everything. We'll talk more about that when we come back from this break. You're watching Buzz TV Network News Analysis. I'm Jeff Vogel. Back with more Buzz TV Network News Analysis. I'm Jeff Vogel. We are seen on Treasure Coast affiliate channel 1098 Buzz TV, seen on Comcast Xfinity Cable on the Treasure Coast from Mico to Fort Pierce, going to 60,000 homes and businesses. Talking about coronavirus on the Treasure Coast this past Friday at the county's emergency management press conference that they've been holding each week to inform the public, to encourage the public. This past week, both Miranda Hawker and Jason Brown, speaking for the county, both wore masks to reiterate the point of how important it is that we maintain both social distancing and the wearing of masks when we are out in public, in particular when we cannot social distance. The news is not good for Florida. And on the Treasure Coast, it's a little bit better. Indian River County has done very, very well, and that can only be attributed to the hard work of all of the county administrators, everyone on the front lines working within the health departments and within the hospitals and within testing, and to the great work of those who are most affected, and that's the residents of Indian River County who have done their outstanding best to keep their distance and wear masks and isolate themselves as much as possible. In the state of Florida, we have not plateaued. We have not maybe even peaked yet. This past week, day after day after day, the state of Florida hit record numbers of new cases of coronavirus every day this past week. And everyone would like to associate that with an increase in the amount of testing that's going on. But the percentage of people testing positive is not going down. And so what it means is there are a lot more cases out there that we don't know about, a lot more cases that are still being transmitted, and we've got a long ways to go. I spoke with with Jason Brown about his future forecast, and we'll talk more about that at the end of today's program. When we come back from the break, though, we're going to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement as it sweeps across the nation. Megyn Kelly, Gone with the Wind, and Tucker Carlson's statues of limitations when we come back. I'm Jeff Vogel with Buzz TV Network News Analysis, seen on Florida's Treasure Coast affiliate channel 1098 on Xfinity Cable TV, seen in 60,000 homes and businesses on the Treasure Coast in Indian River County from Mico to Fort Pierce. This week's topics include coronavirus on the Treasure Coast, Megyn Kelly, Gone with the Wind, Statues of Limitations and Tucker Carlson, and Indian River County Good News Department. We're talking about Megyn Kelly and Gone with the Wind, the Black Lives Movement, which continues to just spread across the country and bubble up here and there, but really has taken hold. It's maybe something the country needed right now, something to get our minds off of the coronavirus at least, and onto something very positive. And that positive that is the result of tragedy is that we have a long ways to go in terms of policing in the United States. We have a long ways to go in terms of the evolution of our society, and this is a good time to make some real progress. And progress has been made this past week. Many cities condemning the use of chokeholds by police, the Confederate flag being banned at racing events, for example, all intended to try to bring greater attention to the disparity of how people of color and white people are treated systematically. It's not something that you or I are to blame for in any way. This is not something you or I created. We inherited the society that we're in. We have a shared history, good, bad, or ugly. It's a shared history. We can learn from that history. We can move forward. We can each make strides to try to do that. Megyn Kelly, a former Fox News host, got into lots of trouble this week because she condemned the removing of Gone with the Wind from some airwaves this week as a reaction. And her point being, should we remove every movie that portrays people in a bad light or portrays stereotypes or treat women badly? Should we remove all of those movies? We're essentially going to end up removing all of our popular culture if we try to remove everything that is offensive in some way. But having said that, there's no particular reason to glorify the film Gone with the Wind. It did provide actress Hattie McDaniel with the first supporting actress Academy Award for a black female actress in Hollywood. And it was a 1939 classic and was the result of a popular book, and really is not a reflection of the 1860s. It's a reflection of the 1930s Hollywood. This is a product of Hollywood. It's a movie. It's not to be taken seriously. It's not a depiction of plantation life in the 1860s. It does not come close to portraying what that experience was like, either for plantation owners and slave owners or for people who were enslaved at that time. So Gone with the Wind is a movie, and it shouldn't be taken too seriously, and certainly not as an accurate depiction of life for anyone in the 1860s. It has more to do with Hollywood in the 1930s, coming out of the Depression, with World War II about to rage, and fascism rising in Europe. statutes of limitations, Tucker Carlson and Indian River County Good News Department, all coming up next. Welcome back to Buzz TV Network News Analysis, seen on Treasure Coast affiliate in Florida, channel 1098 on Xfinity Comcast Cable. We've been talking about coronavirus on the Treasure Coast. Megyn Kelly gone with the wind, and now statutes of limitations. Tucker Carlson, another Fox News host, got into a bit of trouble this week criticizing Elizabeth Warren's amendment to a bill to remove Confederate generals' names from military posts in the U.S. and to instead name those military posts after Union generals. Well, it only makes sense. I'm not quite sure how this all got started, that we decided to name military bases for Confederate generals. Obviously, there's a history to that. I am not aware of the history of it, but it doesn't seem very logical or smart in any case. Of course, we really shouldn't be honoring Confederate generals in any way. The general population, people that fought on the Confederate side in the Civil War, they were probably most likely sold a bill of goods like we all are, like the general population is quite often when it comes to wartime. And they were subject to a society, a culture, an economy that was based on slave labor. So in going back and obvious, of course, soldiers that fought on the Confederate side were doing what they believed to be the correct thing at the time. However, the society in which they were supporting was a slave-owning and an economy that depended upon slave labor to function. We have evolved from there. I should certainly hope as a society we are light years from that point in history. But it's not a partisan issue. Elizabeth Warren's bill is supported across the board by both Republicans and Democrats. And of course, there are limitations. Should we dismantle Columbus Circle in Manhattan? Should we remove every monument that built to a Confederate soldier? It requires conversation and discussion. That's what it really requires. And so there is no set one answer, but it does open up a good area for discussing things further. And so Tucker's on the money that we don't want to do. We don't want to throw away the baby with the baby basket. We don't want to destroy our heritage and our history, but at the same time, we don't need to be honoring people that did not serve the United States of America. Good news on the Indian River County Good News Department. We have survived this experiment, at least for the past 3 months. Indian River County is doing well. Have we learned? Based on the crystal ball that I asked Jason Brown to look into, he's not sure where we're going to be a month from now. He doesn't know where we'll be 2 months from now or 3 months from now. Will things stay the way they are? Will things get worse? Will things need to be shut down again? It's very, very hard to say. But the county has worked together, all branches of the county, all sections of our economy are pulling together locally to try to get through this coronavirus outbreak. Have we learned some things? I hope so. And are we better prepared should this happen again? Will it happen this coming January? A year from now? 2 years from now? Hopefully, this experience, this experiment of shutting down and reopening has taught us all, and the county itself, I'm hoping, will take what they've learned and take those contingency plans and put them in a safe place so we can open them up again should we need them again sometime in the future. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Vogel.